For our lesson on functions, we're going to introduce to you functions, and we're also going to be able to answer the question, how can I tell if a relation is a function? Now this is review for most of you, so some of you might already know the answer to that question. But let's go ahead and refresh your memory if you're not sure. First, a relation is just a set of ordered pairs. And remember, ordered pairs are just coordinates like 1, 2, 0, 3, -2, 1. That would be a relation. That is a set of ordered pairs. The domain is the first set of coordinates of the ordered pairs, which are the x values. So the domain of this function, or this relation, would be 1, and we want to write these in order, so -2, actually let's start over. So we want to write them in order. We would have -2, 0, and 1. So that would be our domain. And we want to list them in order from least to greatest, and we don't repeat numbers if the numbers are repeated in the set. Next would be the range, which are the y coordinates. So our range, we would have 2, 3, and 1. So if I write those in order from least to greatest, I would have 1, 2, 3. So we're going to take a look at some examples, and I'm going to have you guys identify the domain and range. So if we copy down this table, we have age and height. Age would be like your x values, and height would be like your y values, because it always goes in order. X always comes first, and then y. It's alphabetical. So if I want to state my domain, I would list the ages in order from least to greatest, and I would not repeat numbers. So even though the 18 is on here twice, I'm not going to repeat any numbers. So if we put our domain in order from least to greatest, we would have 14, 18, 20, and 21. And then if we put our range in order, the heights in order from least to greatest, we would have 4.25, 4.4, 4.85, 5, and 5.25. So those would be our domain and range. Now the next thing we're going to talk about is how to tell if a relation is a function. So a function means that for each x value there's only one y value. So in other words, the x values can't repeat. And I kind of think of it like this. If you think of a function as a machine, if you have a 2 and you put it into your machine and it does its thing, and then a number comes out like this, let's say it comes out 0, then the next time I put in a 2 into my machine and it does its little thing, it better come out 0. If it comes out a 1, then my machine's broken. So if I have 2, 0 as one of my points and 2, 1 as one of my points, then this would not be a function because the x value repeats and I have two different y values. So if we look at this one, we have 2, 0, 4, 2, 6, 4, and 8, 6. So would this one be a function? Okay, let's think about that. All the x values are different. So every x value I have just one y value. So this one would be a function. Now this one over here I have 0, 8, -2, 3, -4, 0, and -2, 5. So on this one I have -2. I put -2 into my machine and I get 3. But then the next time I put -2 into my machine, I get 5. So this would not be a function because I have two different y values for one x value. All right, another way that we can look at functions is by looking at graphs. So here are the steps for how to tell if a graph, just looking at the graph of something, is a function. This is called the vertical line test. And by using this test, you can tell if a graph represents a function or not. So here are the steps if you want to write these in your notes. Step 1 is to draw vertical lines across the graph. So if this is my graph, and I have like a graph of a circle, then what I would do is I would draw vertical lines across the graph for my first step, all the way across. And then for step 2, I check to see if the line crosses the graph at only one point for each vertical line that I drew. So this vertical line didn't touch any points. This vertical line touched 2 points. This one touched 2 points. This one touched 2 points. This one touched 2 points. And this one didn't touch any. So because these touched more than 1 point, that means that this would be like the point, I don't know, let's make up one. This would be like -3, 2. And this point would be like -3, -2. And so since these x values are the same, but I have 2 different y values, then that would mean that this would not be a function. So if you do the vertical line test and you draw your vertical lines, and the line crosses through the graph more than once, then that is not a function. Okay? So right here, if yes, then the graph is a function if it only crosses through 1 point. If no, if it crosses through more than 1 point, it is not a function. So let's take a look at some examples, and you guys can do the vertical line test and tell me if these are functions or not. So just sketch a picture of what this looks like in your notes, and then you can do the vertical line test and see if you think that these are functions. So feel free to pause the video and try this, and then go over the answer with me and see if you are correct. So if I draw vertical lines through my graph, I only cross through 1 point every time I draw a line. So this one would be a function. Now if I draw vertical lines on this one, then I cross through more than 1 point. So this one would not be a function. All right, so make sure that you go back and you look at the essential question and answer that and write a summary for your notes.